It's here! Google Gemini 3.0 is out. This is one of the most highly anticipated model drops. It's been a long time coming, and I am very excited to see what it can do. Now, there's a lot in the Google Gemini 3.0 release, but the thing that I wanted to look at today is their new anti-gravity tool. It's an editor and a browser and an agentic coding system all rolled into one, I think. I've heard some buzz, I've watched a few videos, and I'm very curious to see, can it do what it promises to do? This is the first app I've been truly excited to see. Or is this video just going to be a buzzkill? I don't know what it's doing. Let's go find out. Antigravity from Google. This is their new agentic coding tool. And it does look like it's available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. So I have started the install process, but I have not used it yet. So let's get that started. Oh, interesting. You can start fresh or import settings from another IDE. I'm just going to start fresh. We'll stick with dark for now. All right, I'm just going to leave it on recommended. Agent assisted development. Terminal execution policy. I have seen enough videos to know auto is probably the one I want to start with at least. The agent decides. I'm going to say yes to all the defaults until I know more about what I'm doing. All right, sign into Google and yes. And we're in. Open Agent Manager, Clone Repository, Ask Anything, selecting a model, Gemini 3 Pro High. So I did notice that this comes with Gemini 3 Pro High and Low and Claude Sonnet 4.5 and GPT OSS. So that's kind of interesting that they have that they're allowing us to use a couple of different models, including Claude Sonnet 4.5. And I don't know what the limits are of this model, but I am on a free account. I'm not paying anything for this. And I know in the beginning they're trying to give us what they always term generous usage. So I do think for the initial release of this, we can kind of get in there and try it out a fair bit. So I am going to stick with GPT Pro. I love that it has a planning mode. So I just want to build a simple little app. I need to plan all the pies I want to make for Thanksgiving. I feel that this should be a very pie-intensive meal. I kind of need to find a bunch of pies that don't involve fruit, or even something that uses puff pastry, like a little browser app where I could kind of collect these recipes, maybe also make a shopping list from the ingredients for those recipes. No. Oh, it's thinking. Okay, that took a second. I really thought nothing was happening. Created task MD. So this is a little bit like Cursor, interesting in that it's got these toggle panels. You can go into terminal if you want, and they have a built-in browser, which I am pretty interested in seeing at work. I love the fact that it's got built-in browser capabilities. Hopefully we'll get to see that in a minute. So somewhere around here, artifacts. There is supposed to be an artifact section here. I'd love to help you build this pie planner. However, I currently don't have an active workspace where I can save the files. All right, great. So apparently, first thing we need to do, open a folder. Now we have the more traditional cursor looking IDE. We've got the file system over here, code with agent, edit code inline, so if you want to code yourself or switch to the agent manager. Thanksgiving pie planner. Everything that I just asked it to do, past conversations, yeah. So I guess I can now say implementation plan. All right, so let's open that. Okay, so that animation was hiding the actual task list. That was a pop-up that I needed to hit dismiss on. So now I can see the tasks, and I think, yeah, I can see the implementation plan here too. All right, so that seems fine. And so I think what it was saying is I can leave comments. I assume I can make changes if I wanted to. Say I wanted to say something like, make sure the shopping list is editable so I can remove items I already have or add items if I need to add a few things to my grocery run. All right, so I do have the text size on this moved up quite a bit to make sure that the camera can see everything. If I was in a normal sized view, it does look like a normal comment. All right, so it was waiting for me to hit accept. And this is the normal thing you would see on either Cursor, if you've ever used that, or any of the other command line interface tools like Codex or Claude Code. I definitely can't fault them for sort of recreating that that cursor or VS Code experience because it's tried and true. I will probably be trying Gemini CLI in the future because I do tend to like CLI tools, but you can't beat this. I mean, if it's got a built-in browser, let's see what else this thing can do. All right, well, it's working. Let's see, can we spin up the browser? Okay, so in order to use the browser, you need to install the extension into Chrome. Why would I not do that if this is the tool it can use? Now researching recipes for non-fruit mini pies and puff pastry desserts. Found 8 non-fruit mini pie / puff pastry recipes. Now starting implementation. Excellent. Okay, and now we are really starting to see some of the files start getting filled out here. Okay, one of the other super intriguing aspects of the entire Gemini system, but specifically of coding with Gemini, is they seem to be giving us access to Nanobanana right within the coding agent. So if you needed an image generated, or if it decided in this case it needed an image generated, it's just going to go ahead and do that. Usually I would have to stop and go over to like ChatGPT or Nanobanana and ask to generate a specific image, download that, save that, add that back in as an asset. But it looks like it's just fully integrated right in there, which is extremely interesting. I definitely don't know what kind of limits they're going to put on this for us, or if they will start charging for that down the road. But for now, if you just need a few images, you can just have the code generate that as part of the prompt, or it will do it on its own. I really hope Google pulls this off because I feel like there are so many parts that have come together in this release that it is really interesting to see if they really work as well together as I'm really hoping that they do, and that they've sort of hinted at or promised that they will. Look at this. All right, so cinnamon rolls made out of puff pastry. What are they doing? Portuguese custard tarts? Yes. Chocolate braids. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is the first app I've been truly excited to see opened up and used in quite a while. All right, so this is what I was hoping to see. Antigravity would like to use the browser. So yes, let's set that up. Bring the agent into your browser to see and interact. All right, so this blue kind of glowing light around the edge of the browser means that Antigravity is doing the work. This is the agent performing tasks on the browser to test and make sure everything works correctly. This is awesome. It's adding, it's removing, it's all right. The shopping list is egg wash, Nutella, puff pastry sheets. I mean, that's a winning combination right there. All right, so it's not blue anymore. I'm going to assume that it's done, or at least done for now. Oh, interesting. Playback available. Sure, why not? Oh. So it's recorded everything it did during its testing, so you can come back in and see what it did in case there's discrepancy between, hey, I thought you tested it, why didn't you catch this? That's a pretty nice feature right there. All right, so it made changes to all of this. It's got a walkthrough. Okay. Recipe collection, recipe list, menu planning, shopping list, and it's showing the navigation again. Okay, I have to say I'm pretty impressed so far, although I have a feeling this app is actually kind of useless at the moment. So that's kind of an odd place to be, assuming that it is both very impressive and absolutely useless, because yeah, I can see this and they kind of move around, but I can't click into it. There is no actual recipe or instructions. I would not know how to begin making Nutella hearts. So from that sense, perhaps somewhat of a failure, but I feel like this is our chance to open the agent manager and ask for some agentic changes or parallel background changes. All right, so the workspace that we're in is Thanksgiving Pie Planner. The theory is that these agents will run and complete tasks in parallel in the background. We can just fire off a bunch of things that we want changed, and it will go off and do that work and take care of it. We don't have to sit there and necessarily keep hitting accept. I am curious. I don't know what the permissions are here. We definitely want to try this out. Start a new conversation in Playground. I would like to be in the Pie Planner. And I'm going to say this time I want it in fast mode, and I'm going to keep using Gemini 3 Pro. Whoops, it's me and 3 million other people trying to play with this. All right, so here's what I want to say. First of all, not everything has an image. So maybe that's the first thing I'd like you to correct is add images to all the recipes. Now, since it's not loading, all right, let's go back to the editor. First of all, let's get images and we'll get that going. And then, so there are no actual recipes in the Thanksgiving Pie Planner, but I need to be able to click into each card and get the actual recipe and instructions for how to make these desserts. All right, so that's one. In my browser, as it's working, it is adding images, which is pretty delightful. I do want to add another. A next task would be, it looks like we are very short on actual pie recipes for like some mini pecan pies, pumpkin pie even. All right, so that's gonna go kick off. Meanwhile, what's it working on? Nice, it's adding items to the shopping list. All right, so these are the two tasks that I currently have running. One is to integrate real recipes and then add more mini pie recipes. At any time I could come in here, I could search, and I can see what is running. And I can start a new conversation. Ooh, could you look for Thanksgiving themed cookie recipes? Fun and unusual and theme appropriate. So it looks like these are all running. They haven't needed my intervention on anything. They haven't asked me to accept or reject or allow it to change any code. So that's kind of nice. And you can see it's now searching the web for all of the recipes that it made up. Interesting. So it looks like it's created some more images and it's just asking if it can move them into the correct file. Okay, that looks so much better. And I am super intrigued with the idea of using puff pastry as the dough for cinnamon rolls. Okay, I am now going to have to try that. What else is going on over here? Okay, so I have to say, this is a little bit insane. I really was hoping that it would work this well, but kind of not expecting it to actually deliver on this promise. This constant browser interaction of back and forth, opening, closing, and you can watch it in real time. I really expected it to fail. Kind of impressive, really. 4 new mini pie recipes and integrated real recipes. All right, so one of the tests for this is how well integrated are these tasks, because they were all running in parallel, and I would hope that they would all go back and marry up with each other. For example, creating real recipes or finding real recipes for each item. I am hoping that it went in and forward filled like any new cookie recipe that it came up with. I hope it really gave me an actual cookie recipe instead of filling in real recipes for the data that it had when I asked for that task, and then anything going forward didn't quite pick up on that change. Okay, that looks promising. Okay, so I did answer one of the questions. Couldn't find any cookie recipes on the website after I asked it to go find cookie recipes. And it did take me very literally. It found some cookie recipes. And then at the bottom, it says, do any of these sound like candidates? I can grab them and add them to the planner. So it's really actually just waiting on me again. In, Codex or Claude Code, you would go and you would archive these conversations to sort of indicate that the tasks are complete. You've either merged it with the code or you've decided to abandon it. In this case, it's not using GitHub. It's not creating a branch off a GitHub repo like Codex or Claude Code would, which I don't mind. I'm completely fine with the way that this is doing it. In a lot of ways, this is a little bit easier for me mentally to manage when I'm doing a bunch of changes that are either minor or just very interrelated. I don't need a separate branch to add cookies to my shopping list. So I am okay with that. All right, and then go back to the editor. I mean, I'm just pretty pleased with this. So the last thing, I should accept their changes. Can you check all this into Git for me? Create a new repo, make sure it's checked in. And again, it's got that odd little, it's kind of waits for a minute. And you can't really tell if something's happening before it does kick off. I imagine that's source control. Oh, you can initialize a repository. Great. and generate the commit message. I mean, I might be stepping on what it's actually trying to do right now. Okay, so it's, I think, showing me the same thing in both windows. Yes, all right. Publish branch. Ooh, yes. All right, authorizing Google Antigravity. Device is connected. Publish the branch. That was probably the easiest GitHub integration I've had to date. That is fantastic. And just to wrap up a few loose threads, the tasks did seem to fully integrate. Everything that I asked for seemed to merge together. The later requests did get backfilled. So it does look like everything ran in parallel and somehow managed to merge themselves together correctly. Additionally, very shortly after I finished working on this project, I found a pop-up message that said my token limit had been reached and I would have to wait for the next 5-hour chunk of time to start before I could use anti-gravity anymore. So this was about an hour and a half to 2 hours of not super intense, but more or less nonstop coding and agentic tasks. So that should hopefully give you some sort of a very loose, very rough idea of exactly what kind of usage they're giving to people right now. And I can make Nutella hearts now. Good news all the way around. All right, so that was my first kick the tires on Google's new anti-gravity. So I have to say, I am a fangirl. Just the fact that everything worked the way that they said it would right out of the gate. I know that seems like it's a pretty low bar, but things move so quickly. It feels like generally the first few days or even weeks of a new release, it's kind of expected that something's going to break or there's going to be little glitches here and there. But that was pretty flawless. Everything I was interested in just executed perfectly. It spun up a browser. It navigated the browser, and the replay on its testing was flawless. Then add to the fact that it had access to and used Nanobanana multiple times in a single project. That was impressive. And then the agentic workflow where you could go into the agent mode and ask for a bunch of asynchronous tasks to be completed. That also worked flawlessly. I loved that I didn't have to necessarily have a GitHub repo to begin with. It's interesting to see that they chose to go that direction when Codex and Claude Code are still working off the GitHub repo individual branch per change model. It's just kind of fun to see maybe how that shakes out, where the pros and the cons are for each one of those. And then just the fact that the layout of anti-gravity was similar enough to Cursor that it was understandable was kind of nice to see. I would say by and large, it didn't quite meet the Claude Code level of walkthrough of here's what I'm doing next, here's the task list, here's where I am in the task list, but it was definitely not as just purely technical as Codex can be. So overall, it did feel just very comfortable to work in. Really, it sounds crazy to say, but it just did everything I asked for. Definitely recommend go download it. It's free for everybody for a while, at least. That was all on a free account. So go grab it and go play with it and have fun. Good luck. Happy coding. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.